In today's show, we discuss, does masculine culture protect society from chaos?
And now, the TNT Talk Show, daring to go where other podcasts fear to tread.
Hello, I'm Tony Fasulo, and I share the stage with my esteemed friend and colleague, Taya Boya. Taya, hello, my friend. Once again, I hope you're keeping safe and well, and you know what I'm going to ask?
Anyway, hello, audience.
Yes!
Apologies for Tony's shenanigans. I've already sort of made my bad mood just worsen my mood. But let's not worry about it. It's not your fault. It's Tony's. Anyway, so I want to say hello to someone. I think it is one person in. How do you think you pronounce this? C-H-A-M.
C-H-A-M.
Yeah.
Sham?
Yeah, well, it's Chum.
Chum.
Don't ask me why. It's Chum. In Zug.
In Zug? Where's Zug?
Zug is a canton in Switzerland.
Zug is a canton in Switzerland?
Yes, like a borough or council area or state or whatever you want to call it.
In Switzerland.
Yes. So Chum is located on the northern shore of Lake Zug.
Lake Zug.
Yes, and really is pronounced Chum. The N is a municipality in the canton of Zug in Switzerland. Now, I would love to say hello to the person, but I'm looking at the topic that they selected, and I'm assuming they have some. So I'm just going to say hello, and I hope everything goes well.
Okay.
No, I'm not actually joking.
Oh, okay.
No, it's not a joke. No, seriously.
Okay. Oh, okay.
It's one of our more serious shows. But so just hope everything goes well for you, and that what we were talking about helps.
Okay, interesting. Okay. Well, hello from Switzerland.
Yeah, from Switzerland?
Yeah, you said they were Switzerland.
Yeah, but you said from Switzerland. You're not in Switzerland.
No, that's true, yes. Hello from... I'm confusing myself. Hello to Switzerland.
There we go.
Right. There you go.
Yeah. And
right.
Question time with Tayo. Just a quick one today. It's pretty straightforward. It is a question that I want to put. It makes you wonder, I think. I hope it makes you wonder. Why, or rather, how come the more we are told that words have power, the less power we have over our own words? Cui bono?
Well, I'm not sure about the less power. It's that's a separate topic.
How is it not less power? You're not allowed to say this. Not allowed to say that.
You've got a bigger platform now available to everybody, so it's not.
Yeah, we're not allowed to say things. There's so many things we can't say. We have more power, but apparently, if you say things, we're more restricted now. It's more censorship now than it used to be.
You have more power to say things because the influence capacity of your words is far greater than in the past. So you have to be mindful of what your words say or do in the eyes of the people that are listening.
You've just restated my exact complaint. That we have more power, but we have less power. That we're supposed to have more power, but the actual things we have less power.
Where are we supposed to have more power? Where does it say?
Because we had freedom of speech. It's meant to be a foundational principle of our civilization, our society in the West.
But you still have to be mindful of what you say.
Once you say but, you have already undone everything that went before it.
Okay.
I agree, but...
So if we had an audience of young children, you wouldn't be mindful of what you say?
I can sense all sorts of logical fallacies. I mean, like a whole bunch of them in there. That's just what false equivalence, man.
And actually, it's giving an example. It's not a false.
And actually, I might self-censor, but there shouldn't be any problem. If I actually want to say something, I could go ahead and say it, and I should be able to go ahead and say it because that's what free speech is. Anyway. If you want to argue about it,
let's do that another time. Let's get on with today's show. Come on, I'm excited.
If you want to come in on my side and explain exactly how nonsensical Tony's objections were, please write to TNT Talk Show. Imagine those are three separate words.
mail.com.
Imagine those are three separate words. Take out the spaces. tnttalkshow@mail.com and tell me how rotten and silly Tony's arguments were. And I'll read out your email. Well, part of your email.
I suppose I should get a few, tomatoes thrown at me occasionally because they all come your direction most of the time. There you go.
Yeah, if you want to live in that fantasy, please go ahead.
Right, let's move on with today's show. And this is another one of yours. And you have asked the question, does masculine culture protect society from chaos? Now, first off, we need to define what you mean. What would you mean, masculine culture? And then, once you've defined what that actually is, as far as our listeners are concerned, you then have to justify, or you're asking the question, how does that masculine culture protect society from chaos? Where's the chaos coming from?
Okay. So this is really annoying. I don't like those questions at all.
Why?
They're clever questions, and I am not prepared to answer. I'm not prepared to answer in any serious way. What not to be my commonsensical questions? Well, I didn't think we were going to actually be serious on this occasion, damn it. So I came with a bunch of jokes and nothing serious. And then you're like, okay, so seriously, what's like, hold on, pal. Look, henceforth, we got to get our ducks in a row, man. We can't be doing this two numpties from nothing.
I think the title of the show sort of gave it away. I don't know why you
I said, I came for laughs and sorry to use the expression, but shits and giggles, man. I didn't come for.
Okay, so
the opening salvo is it's just like whoa, dude, whoa.
Okay, so say what you want to say.
Masculinity is what? Sorry, what is? Okay, so the main concern. Okay, so switch hats. What is chaos? Would have been a more important thing. What do I mean by chaos? So by chaos, I mean a divorce from facts and evidence-led conversation and decision making to feel-good decision making. So I think that's probably the nexus of my argument that we when a female-led when there are. So what is a female-led society? A female-led society is a society where more females than males have political power, have more power in public discourse than men. So when more women have more power in public discourse than men, then that would be what I would qualify as being a female-led society. And I'm saying that when that happens, and it doesn't have to be at society level. It could be in a company, just an ordinary company. It could be in a school environment, institution, anything. Where you get, even in a club, even in a clubhouse, not house, but even in a social club, in any gathering really, where there are more women than men, and those women have more say in the discourse direction, yes, then that is female led. So I think that works. I think that's what I'm trying to say.
So that female led approach, whatever that entails, are you saying that means across the board, if women are in the majority and they're having to make decisions, it will ultimately lead to chaos? And this is what you're saying. So
absolutely.
In every case?
In every case.
In every case. Because of what justification?
Because that's female nature. Female nature.
Bring chaos.
No. They don't see it as chaos. No, that's ridiculous. They don't see it as chaos. That's what
you're claiming. You're linking.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that they're doing it on purpose. The end result is chaos, but they're not doing it on purpose, which is what your question implied, that they seek chaos. No, they don't seek chaos. They seek the exact opposite. They seek harmony. So it is their nature to seek harmony and to avoid confrontation. Unfortunately, the end result of seeking harmony and avoiding confrontation is chaos. Because the hierarchy, there is no hierarchy. Everything, all points of view are equally valid. Everyone has to be happy and get along. Well, that's not how the world works. If you do that, you will give equal weight to idiots and to geniuses. But you're not supposed to give equal weight to idiots and geniuses. You're supposed to give, in fact, you're supposed to dismiss the ideas of idiots and only take the ideas of geniuses.
So you're implying there, though, that everybody has no bit of information that's valuable to anyone. And how do you define? No, because you're defining idiots. How you have to then define idiots? Who's an idiot?
Well, people who voted for Donald Trump. Bam. End of story.
That's rather
look at how Tony just came to a standstill. Your brain just went, can't you do this and this? Tires right, but I can't.
Harsh.
Tires right, but I can't.
But the thing is, that's ridiculous because the majority of voters for Donald Trump.
Look, I obviously hyperbole. I mean, I'm playing and I'm joking because the alternative was it wasn't the alternative. No, I'm not playing. I take that back. No. People who voted for Donald Trump, because they could have voted for David, whatever his name was, the third guy, the libertarian.
Yeah, they could have voted for Kamala Harris.
No, that's the whole point. That's why I was about to give them a free pass and say, well, the alternative was Kamala Harris. So you're not idiots, because that would have been stupendously stupid to vote for her. But no, I don't give them a free pass because there was actually a logical and, by the way, a fabulous alternative in this libertarian guy. Small government, the same thing that they all want. Small government, end to endless wars, and wars in other people's countries, and so on and so forth. But they wouldn't.
Yeah, but you've now said endless wars. Most wars created by masculine culture anyway.
As a matter of fact, you're incorrect, because this is one of the data points that I've seen before, and I don't have it here because I didn't expect us to go into this, but I can dig it up for you. Actually, female-led societies tend to have more wars than male-led societies. Now, historically, because what you've done is you've looked at the history where most societies were led by men, and you go, oh yeah, but men started wars. Well, only men were running societies back in the old days. But when occasionally women did get their hands on power, there was more war. So when you look at what you call it,
I'd love to see the data for that, because I'm really.
I see the data, I don't know. I'll try to find it for you. But yeah, it's not a good argument. Oh, why don't you try to? I'm making the claim, so I have to find it. Okay, yeah. So I'll try to find it for you. But yeah, no, that's not. That's incorrect. And anyway, don't forget that it's a collective. The mindset is collective. It's not okay for one society to feel one way about things, a female-led society, and not have other societies agree with them, because the whole idea is this harmony must be imposed. Now that is warlike. That is not like, let's say, President Putin, for example. He's quite masculine, and Russia is quite masculine. And I know the Russian case is this: we've got our culture. You guys do you in the West, but don't come here and interfere with our culture. That's all we're saying. Don't interfere with our culture. But the West is feminized, and the West is like, no, everyone in your culture must obey our cultural rules. You must let go the social identity thing and all that sort of, that side of things. It's not okay, because this harmony that we believe in must spread. That's what the communists used to do. This is like, what are you doing, man?
I've got to jump in there. You're seem to be lambasting women over the top of what really... I can see there being some credibility on this, let's all work together element. I can see that, where compromise, although it's a good thing for most of the time, you do eventually have to make a decision. And I think that this is your argument is too aggressive towards women in some scenarios, but it clearly is not the case in all scenarios, because you've got women that are very successful leading governments, companies, institutions, etc., without this problem. So how do you quantify chaos and non-chaos? I mean, I'm still trying to fathom out your basis of this argument, Because really, it doesn't boil down to a societal level. You got chaos by individuals. So to you sort of put it all together into one big thing. Oh, society isn't a mess if there's a woman in charge. That just sounds ludicrous, because it's nonsense. Because nobody makes any decision in any location in isolation ever. They have to be collaborative. I can understand certain environments you don't want to be feminized. I get that. But as a society as a whole, pinning it on a woman to say, oh, if a woman's in charge, the society is chaotic.
Okay, so here's the thing. I'm developing this theory, and I hesitate to mention it here on TNT Talk Show because eventually, when I write about it, I'll be doing so as a pseudonym to protect myself. But people, the very clever ones, are able to say, I've heard this before, you know. There is no such person as XYZ, because I've tried to find this XYZ online and there's no such person. But what this XYZ is saying, I've heard this before. Where the hell did I hear it before? And eventually, one day someone will be having his tea or coffee, or she, or, you know, he or she will be having their tea or coffee. And go, I know where I've heard that before. Is that capital B on the TNT Talk Show, the black one? He's always spouting about women, and I've had it. It's him, isn't it? He's. So I hesitate to identify myself in public with this thesis that I'm about to advance to you. Okay, but here's my thesis. I'm absolutely right, and you're totally wrong. That's it. That's my thesis. Okay.
That's your thesis.
Yes, you are wrong. Now, look. How does this happen? Well, there's a cycle. I've spoken to you before about J.D. Unwin, but I argued in preparation for this show. I spent too much time arguing with an AI about J.D. Unwin, about women, and all sort of thing. And I think I'd have to say that for the first time, I actually lost to an AI, so it's kind of like difficult for me. But the AI was also wrong. It's just that it's very difficult to prove my case. We have to think in terms of getting out of our minds and looking at just the raw evidence, okay? You can't point to a couple of exceptions. And by the way, I deny that there are any exceptions, because I can't think of a well-run organization, an organization run by a woman, and it's well-run. I can't think of one, but that doesn't mean there isn't one. So you might be able to point some out, but I'm going to be like, And by the way, you'd have to remember what I was saying earlier, that it is female-led, not because there's one female at the top of a bunch of men, but that there are more females, okay, than males. That was my opening qualification for what do you mean by female-led. Right?
So you're saying only women or only men in the majority?
Not only, the majority. Okay. So if you got a board of directors and you have 7 women and 6 men, I'd say that's female-led. But if you have it the other way around, 7 men and 6 women, that's not female-led. Am I making any sense?
That makes a mockery of the leadership part, because a leader will make a final decision, but he's guided by the people that he trusts. That's a proper leader. It's not someone who just in isolation knows everything and is my rule. Otherwise, there's no point of anybody being there. They're just yes people. The whole point of a good leader, they just ensure that the final decision is theirs, but they're still clever enough to listen to the people in the room to advise him accordingly.
That is a masculine mindset. That's a masculine mindset. Why is
that exclusively a male
mindset? Because we follow hierarchy. It's in our nature to follow hierarchy.
Nature is slightly different to what you say nature and nurture. It doesn't work that way. There are attributes.
No, that's your... Where did you get that from?
That's because of the work I'm in, I'm afraid, and I see it all the time. Yes. Because you learn this stuff. You're not born with it. You learn it.
You learn what?
You learn about whether you lead or not. You learn about
little boys want to play with toy guns, and little girls want to play with dolls. There's no argument about that.
They don't want to play. No, they don't.
Yes, they want to play.
No, they don't.
Want to play. No. When my manners pay.
Okay.
your stat. No, we're supposed to have an argument.
No, but
nothing. And I'm going to just show you that. Whilst I find the data for that, ruminate on this link that I've just sent you. Any chance that you could share with what it says?
I can share this with our audience.
No, what does it say?
It says female rulers are 27 more likely to wage war. 27% more likely to wage war than males.
Thank you. And you said you didn't know about that. And the other thing you don't know about is that when given a free choice, 3 to 4 year olds will naturally will naturally, mostly boys pick up guns and
they don't know what a gun is.
Well,
if
they sort of do. They
go,
would have seen
it in a they would have seen it in a other children doing it. They wouldn't have done it themselves. They've been influenced. Everything that children do and say is picked up in their surrounding, so they would have picked it up. You're not born with it. You develop it because you've seen someone.
It's the Y chromosome. You are born with it, actually. It's the Y
chromosome. Pick up a gun?
Yeah, which is mechanical instincts.
No,
it's to go out, to conquer, to be the thing that the motive force. You believe in, I don't know, I suppose you believe in evolution, I guess. Don't you?
What do you?
No.
So then in that case, then we haven't have an argument.
Sorry?
Because if you don't believe in evolution, right? The thing they do know that they've discovered is that we are born only knowing two things. And that's the fear of loud noises and the fear of falling. Those things we're aware of. But everything else we learn from our surroundings, from the first sounds we hear, from the first things we sense. We have a sense far greater when we're young than as we age, that diminishes. So kids pick up on the surroundings. They pick up on the other people in the room, the other people near them. So this stuff that they're inherently, they're going to pick up a gun. They might pick up a weapon. I get that. They're not going to pick up a gun. You're being too symbolic in a gun. There is evidence to show that little boys will pick up a stick and hit something, whereas a woman will not do that. A little girl won't do that. So there is a difference there, but that's because, like I said, if I'm going to go back to historical times or, the dawning of man, then there are traits between the species, and the man predominantly was the stronger of the two. So he was the one.
What do you mean was the stronger? What do you mean by was the stronger of the two?
Is the stronger of the two. Yeah.
Physically stronger,
Physically, yeah. But they're the ones that are going to go out and engage in risk and look for food and hunt, whereas the female's more a nest defender, looking after the home, the children, and because she's the one that produces the offspring. So there's definite roles there. Nowadays, I get the argument that they're trying to make them the same, but there's still these fundamental differences between the male and female. But the one you're saying about chaos, I actually don't wholeheartedly agree. I need more evidence to prove that claim.
To prove the what?
That it's genuinely true that women are more chaotic when they're in bigger numbers than if they were mixed in with men.
Well, okay. So anyway, here's another link for you. Could you read it out to our readers, please?
You sent me the same one.
Oh my gosh.
You sent me the same one.
Sorry about that. Yeah. Okay. So sorry about that. Okay, where are we? That is obviously the computer doing its anti-black thing, which it does quite often. Just want you to know that. I don't trust this computer at all.
I thought you've moved from Windows now.
No, I am moving. In the middle of moving, I've got my Linux up and running, and yeah, I'm playing with Linux. It's different, but I just like what it does. I just have my own freedom. Oh, so you're gonna have to click it, unfortunately.
Right.
Wait a second. What is it? That's not what I saw.
cause their girls, boys, preschool children play and toy choices. Okay. 50 children, 21 girls, 29 boys, aged 48 to 72 months. Already affected. Okay. The data were obtained through pictures and semi-structured interviews and evaluated through descriptive analysis. Okay, this is a long article. I can't share it.
It's more a study. It's a study. It's a paper from Frontier Psychology. Sorry?
In Turkey.
Yeah, it's a paper, proper paper and all that. So, and I believe it's peer reviewed. I'll try to find the evidence that it's a proper peer reviewed thingy.
Yeah.
So there you go. Yeah. So no, I don't know what you were saying earlier, but no, we've known that for a long. I think it's been known for a long time that it's not imposed upon children. There's a natural bias towards these things. Now it's not 100%. No. A certain number of boys want to put on frilly skirts and prance around. And a certain number of girls who want to play with trucks and stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
So send them round to towns for re-education. But,
dear.
But what you were saying, that you want to see evidence. Well, I'm not going to. I'll look for some evidence, but
right. Okay.
I never set out. I never set out to have an argument where I'm going to be like throwing up data, because my data is anecdotal. Yeah. It's anecdotal. I mean, look,
I'm not disputing that there's differences between men and women, and women have strength in some areas, men have strength in others. And I don't mean strength, physical strength. I mean ability wise and productivity and outcome. They're going to be better in other roles. And I'm actually going to give you some figures, in fact, which show the difference between men and women and why this sameness argument that seems to be prevalent across Western societies doesn't apply. We need to be a bit cleverer trying to make men and women the same, because they're not the same. They are different. Opportunities should be the same, but there's still some areas of difference between the species based on the fact that we are biologically different. And we have got some strengths and weaknesses between the sexes. There are. I mean, the case in point was the one you mentioned at the beginning, the strength one. There's just no debate about that one. Men are physically stronger than women. Biologically, it's just a fact. Okay? So they are going to be drawn to professions, for instance, that are more strength denominated or related, etc. Less women are drawn to those things, whereas a lot of women are more dexterous than men. Naturally, men have got bigger hands, so they struggle with dexterity. So little jobs where you need to be intricate and close up and whatever, women are far superior than men at doing them. So everyone should get the opportunity, but you don't want to shoehorn equality in terms of outcome in every profession. And this is where the problem is. Not that society is chaotic if women, this whole society is feminized, or if the whole society is masculine, it's horrible. No, there's no horrible right and wrong without both of them. They have to cooperate, work together, but understand there's differences and allow those differences to blossom and flourish in whatever way they choose. So rather than trying to create everybody the same and say, oh, men are women and women are men, that's nonsense. Give everybody the same opportunity, but still choose whoever is the better at whatever that profession or career or role is, based on their talent, not on their gender, to keep things equal. And that's what we're trying to see in society. So I think chaos is happening more based on the fact that we have taken this view of sameness making men and women the same, and they're not the same. They are totally different species happening to live in the same environment.
Unfortunately, yeah, but I wasn't hoping for. I was hoping we're going to avoid this kumbaya thing, and let's all hold hands and sway, and
that's what I'm
the
not saying. I'm not saying
camp
that.
like, yeah, you are. It's so nice and look, life is rough. Okay, life is tough, and unfortunately, the harsh realities of life, they don't care about feelings. Okay, facts and evidence is all we're looking for here. Now, when a group of people are have an overall mindset of harmony and the femininity and the kind of words and feelings that like HR, for example, human resources in organizations, they're mostly run by women. Is that a happenstance? You said people naturally migrate to where they feel most comfortable. Why is it always women in HR? Like almost 1995% representation of women in HR, where they can tell people how to think and enforce rules of group think. That's not an accident. That's an actual result we see from letting people have free choices. Now, when Tyre comes along and says, "Look, first of all, HR it enforces ideologies that reduce, in my opinion, competence." And takes away common sense, which is what incenses me the most. It's this inability to just deal with the facts as they are, rather than say, I don't like those facts, so let's do this. Is that what you mean? You don't like those facts? They are the facts. You can't not like facts. Facts are things you have to deal with.
Well, Donald Trump was the person, alternative facts. He coined the term.
But I don't know what that means. I mean,
he coined the term of alternative facts.
Okay, so what did I say about people who voted for Trump? What did I call them? So obviously, if I had great respect for the man's opinions, I wouldn't have called the people who voted for him a bunch of idiots. So I think I've got my marker laid down that I'm not a Trump man, right, by any means. So you're saying that Trump said that buttresses my point. That there's no such thing as an alternative fact.
I know. I'm agreeing with you.
Okay, all right. So, well, your agreement with me just took me off my blooming. I was full flow, man. I was flowing, dude. And no, what the hell was I? What was I? HR, yada yada, HR, blah blah blah, and yeah. So, it boils down. I'm saying my claim is that this kumbaya thing about everybody will be happy and everything, it flies in the face of strong masculine decision making, which is supposed to mean, when you say masculine, what do you mean? Decisive, willingness to confront problems directly, and an emphasis on hierarchy, on clear rules. Look, let's talk about going on a hunt. Back in the old days when we used to go out into the bush, and well, on this continent, you call it the forest. In Africa, we call it the bush. Isn't that weird? I just realized. Okay. So you go out into the bush, and you go hunting, and you're meeting some ferocious animals from time to time. When you come face to face with you wouldn't find a rhino in a bush. You'd find it. You'd find it on the savannah. Yeah. Okay. So, sorry about that. I just saw it pop up. So, when charging a troop of chimpanzees, because they're ferocious, by the way, you come across a troop, they're called, of chimpanzees. You can't sit around and start holding committee meetings and thinking about, hey, what do we do? The decisive person says, wow, okay, here's the danger, here's what we're going to do, yada, yada, blah, 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 blast out orders, you go that way, you do this, you do that, and we've got to all step up and there's not the time to argue, and then we do it. And that is why we developed that way. If you like, we reinforced our natural instincts, and over millennia, this is what we do. We form a hierarchy. Male groups have got a clear hierarchy, and sometimes there's two in the hierarchy, and each thinks that they can be the leader. Well, eventually it's going to have to be either a split or what the heck is going on? Or a tussle. And then it gets sorted out. When I was teaching in Nigeria, I always let the two bullies fight, because I knew that eventually the beaten bully will become the adjutant the lieutenant of the winner, and they would enforce discipline on my behalf as a teacher. So this is the way we think. But you can't do that because in a female-led society, violence isn't going to be, well, actually it's more violence what they do, but it's not physical violence. They practice mental violence. They ostracize, for example. You're out of the group, you're expelled, and then you're on your own, and everybody else turns against you. It's actually pretty terrible, to be honest. And in order to get back in, you've got to come and just kiss the ring of the queen or whatever it is, the queen bee, who will then, if she likes, bring you back into the group dynamic. But you know your place. So their hierarchy is more circular, but it results in a circular firing squad also, which is the whole thing can go down because ridiculous ideas that would be thrown out by a strong leader can't be thrown out because the queen herself can't afford to get too far out of sync with the group. I think that's what I'm trying to say, that a queen has to stay within the ambit of her group, but a king can impose until he overimposes, becomes a tyrant such that, like, I don't know, Caligula, no, it wasn't Caligula, well, Caesar was actually supposed to be, I'm arguing against myself out loud, such that he gets stabbed by his closest advisors.
Doesn't that tend to happen to leaders who get a bit too, sort of fascist or in their nature and become too dictatorial?
No,
so
I can think
that's
of
an excess of masculinity, is it not?
I can. Well, first of all, you can't argue that the extreme case of anything is the problematic because basically what you're saying is if it's too much, then it's bad. Well, the two words "too much" means bad, so
Yes, agreed.
it's circular. No, I'm saying it's circular. You're saying it's too much.
Your argument and this whole conversation seems to be blown out of proportion because
No, our society is failing, man. What are you talking about? Blown out of proportion?
why is it failing?
Because we got to the state where a lot of people went around saying they didn't know what a man was. Your Supreme Court leader in America was saying that, I think she's actually on the Supreme Court then. I think she's actually a blooming Supreme Court justice now. She said she couldn't define a woman, and yet she's on the Supreme Court. What did we just
changed?
Sorry?
All that's changed. The pendulum
But it
had
happened.
swung. I know, but that shows that's people not doing their jobs. It's
This is
nothing
the
to do
return
with
of the
society.
strong man. That's what is trying to happen, but I think it's too late. I mean, okay, fortunately, I see the little ones, and I'm talking about the 8-year-olds, 7-year-olds, 8-year-olds. I don't know how it happened. I have no idea how it happened, but those guys, they didn't drink the Kool-Aid. They are slightly to the right in manosphere terms of me, and they're 7 and 8 years old, and I have no idea how that happened. I don't know how it, because they tell me, they tell me, Mr. Blair, nah. And then they say something that's completely misogynist, and like, Tayo. I'm like, wow, that's kind of rough, dude. And they're like, no. And like, wait a minute, how did you? And I said, well, I see it. So they're getting some information from somewhere. I have no idea where. It's changed, and they are going to be worse than anybody that I know of right now. And I don't even support them. Some of the things they say are so outrageous. It's like, women should go back to the kitchen. It's like, yeah, what? How? Seriously, 7-year-olds.
Yeah, but you're just like a straw poll there. You're not got everybody. You've just
No,
got
thank
a
goodness. I
selection.
hope I'm wrong, but I don't think I am.
Well,
because
you've probably got an
women
area,
have a problem.
because remember, what's the catchment area of the school that you're in? And then you've got to sort of look at it that way. You clearly haven't got a consensus of all 7 and 8-year-olds all up and down the country. You're just getting it from
but that's just you hoping for the best, isn't it? That's your kumbaya thing coming out.
No, I'm not looking for kumbaya. I'm looking for
Have you
facts
spoken
and
to all of the
evidence.
kids? Have you spoken to everybody?
I haven't. But
Okay, so I've
I'm
spoken
not
to
giving an
some.
answer. You spoke to some, but your number is too small a poll to come and extrapolate it to
Says you. No, that's that's what you're saying now. I'm saying I've spoken to a couple of kids,
Okay.
and they've got this attitude. I don't know where it came from. I mean, it's not the same kids. It's spoken to a couple of different kids, and they've got this attitude. And I'm wondering, the important question to me is, where did that come from?
Okay, but that
because it shouldn't be in the minds of
the
people.
way you're framing it makes it sound like all 7 or 8 year olds are all going to be changed.
No.
Okay, thank you. As long as you've made that clear, it's just the experience you've encountered with
shocking experience. Yes.
Yeah, 5 or 6, but that happens at different ages.
Not even that many. Not even 5 or 6. Not even 5 or 6. 7. Three of them. I think 7-year-olds.
7-year-olds. Yeah.
Yeah, about.
Well, it depends on the demographic of where your school is. It depends on the affluence of the area. There's a load of different reasons.
See, you're now making positive statements, and I'm going to ask you, where's your evidence for that?
No, I'm asking the question. You
made it sound like a
statement. There's not enough. All right, it's like that argument about the aliens and the.
Tony and aliens. No, how do we get the aliens?
Look, I've got to bring this in. It's like somebody going with a teaspoon, going to where the sea is, and putting their teaspoon in, and getting a drop of water and go, oh, there's no fish in this little thing. That means there can't be any fish in the sea.
Mm.
Yeah. The argument, the example is that it's too small a
sample.
Teaspoon. Yeah, sample. Yeah, and the same with you. And it's the same.
What?
The sample
I've never
size,
said that about the sea.
No, but the sample size that you've now referred to, you're talking 3 children.
Mm.
If you'd have said to me, you know what, I've spoke to about 50 different children from different areas, all this age, and they're all showing the same attitude, then I'd be like, whoa, that's a slightly bigger group. So that adds some credibility. But you've just said 3. I mean, come on. It's not the sample size is too small.
No, okay.
Hence why I can't take that on board.
Think of it. No. That's not what you do. That's not what you do. Let's say the situation were reversed. I would be, well, that's a very small sample size, and we just take it as a data point.
Yes.
So you don't take it as a conclusion.
That's all it is. Thank you. A data point.
Take it as a data point.
I get that because it's evidence. There's there, but it's a very small data point, and you have to.
And I think even as a data point, and it's not even. That's not what interests me. This is a diversion. What interests me is where did it come from?
Well, yes, indeed.
I think it's dangerous because I don't know what's going on. I wouldn't have expected that, and when I see it, I think it's dangerous. I mean, I'm not obviously, I'm quite, man is fair, pro-masculine, all that kind of thing. But what I don't want is a return to what made me uncomfortable and a feminist, believe it or not, back in the old days. I don't want us to go back to that.
You see, that does need to be found out as to where that's coming from, because you wouldn't want that to turn and they then pick on a demographic instead. Rather than saying horrible things now about females, they're going to say, oh, we don't like Indians, or we don't like black people, or we don't like... Do you see what I mean? It can quickly... the switch can switch. So
when we don't like black people never ended, so...
Well, but do you know what I mean? You don't want that to happen. So where it's coming from is very important, and we need to maybe educate them and say, no, it's not quite like that. And say, look, you're viewing this incorrectly. Whoever's told you that is wrong. It's not. They're not got they can't have an opinion. But what they're saying categorically, and these kids are echoing it back, is that it's bad. What you sent me now? Something else.
Well, here's a link where it says that actually for slightly older ones than the ones I spoke to, so maybe it's coming from their older brothers. I don't know. Well, apparently, it says research indicates that boys aged 11 to 14 are often exposed to harmful content. They don't explain what harmful content is, but they're implying it's misogynist. Within 30 minutes of going online, 30 minutes of going online, with some encountering it as little as 60 seconds. And yeah, so that's the study. I think it's Hello Magazine or something like that. But I mean, magazine. I would urge, because I haven't had a chance to look at it, that if they don't show a similar data for girls being exposed to misandrist,
yes,
then I'll be.
But we touched on this in previous shows about social media and the way the algorithms work. It's a problem that the social media companies don't want to address because it gets them content. It gets them eyes. It gets them eyes on ads, and that's their revenue stream. So yeah, they're not going to stop it, and that's the problem. It polarizes views because you only get to see one point of view. You get polarization. It does make you wonder: is this something that has been forcibly fabricated for it to happen? So you're undermining from
conspiracy
within.
Theory. Yes, well, I believe it is. Obviously, I think I've said so before, but I believe it is, and it's something that we have to that we should be looking into. Unfortunately, people who run society don't want you looking at it, so we can't, and we won't. I mean, individuals like you and me are not able to get the word out. As long as we're just quiet little podcasts, we're fine. The moment you start reaching somewhere, then eyes come on you, and then you run into all sorts of heavy, scrutiny and heavy weather. I mean, I can see what I like now, and people just giggle and jog on. But if we started attracting a large audience and I was saying these things, I think there would be quite considerable pushback.
Indeed.
Which is,
and it would
words have power, but you see what?
Well, yeah, but when you have big influence, then you have a lot more. Yeah, you have big influence. You have to be wary of what you say in case you influence people in a way that could be deemed illegal, rioting, etc., etc. I mean, going back to what we're talking about here, the
social dynamics of female-led groups. That's what we're talking about.
Well, is it chaotic?
Yeah, definitely.
So we're saying, therefore, that female-led groups where they are in the majority end in chaos and nothing gets done.
Yes.
I
was arguing with an AI, like I said today. Now, the AI had some very strong counter arguments, which annoyed me. But what can you do? Sometimes, And one of the things that I adduced as evidence was season 23 of Survivor. And it's quite famous in manosphere circles because it is, where is it?
First off, I don't know what Survivor is, and there may be a lot of our listeners and viewers don't know what it is. So can you elaborate? What's Survivor?
Wow, okay. Survivor is a reality. I don't know if it's still on, but it was. Maybe it's still on, I don't know. It's a reality show where groups of people were taken onto an island somewhere. Well, secluded area. It didn't have to be an island. They were taken somewhere secluded away from civilization and given the bare sort of rudiments of
survival.
Survival. Maybe a machete and, this and that, some rope and whatever. And then just asked to survive, okay, without any external help. Now, season 21, in the episode Nicaragua, no, that was wrong. One World, season 24. In the episode One World, the tribes were initially divided by gender, by men and women. They were living on the same beach, but as separate teams. The women's tribe famously struggled with failing to build a fire, so they couldn't secure food or water, and often when seeking help from the men's tribe, despite lambasting the men at every turn and showing misandrous behavior at every turn, and they still went to the men.
Why were they doing that, first off? Is it all because of TV ratings? At the end of the day, these shows are designed to create friction in order to make it viewable.
I wasn't there, so I don't know. Neither were you.
Indeed.
So all we see is all we see in front of us.
I'm always taking it with a pinch of salt. Always.
Yeah, you can take it with a pinch of salt,
manufactured.
But you can take it with a pinch of salt, and I'm the one who's watched Unreal, so it's maybe you're right, but all I'm saying is this is what this episode was famous for.
And they only thought about separating men and women season 23? You mean
season 24, actually.
Season 24. What? You mean they didn't consider that at any point in the previous 23 seasons? So you're talking it's been going for 23, 24 years.
I don't know how many they do a year. I suspect it's more than one, because they go to separate.
Is a season? Is that just 24 shows, or is it 24 seasons? So a season contains more, what, 5, 6 episodes? Maybe? So you're telling me each season is normally one season a year. So you're telling me this program's been running for 24 years? Or is it 24 episodes? And each
I'm not really sure
episode
this
is
is what
plus
it's
a
got to
season?
do with the women not being able to.
No, I'm just surprised that by season 24, as you've said, it's taken that long for them to decide to split men
I
and
still
women
don't know what
apart.
that's got to do with what I was talking about.
Well, the fact is that they should have done that earlier.
I still don't know what that's got to do with what I'm talking about.
Okay. I'm
There
just
we
making
go.
an observation.
Yeah, right. So they failed to build a fire and couldn't secure food or water.
Okay.
The women were unable to create dry shelter, leading them to approach the men's team for assistance. And the repeated failures and dependence on the men's tribe became an ongoing theme in the early episodes. But what did they do? The women haven't secured help from the men, and eventually the two teams were brought together because people get voted off each week or each meeting or whatever.
Okay.
So they get voted off, and the women got the beta males, as I would have predicted, to do their bidding and to foolishly vote off the strong men. And then they were just left with a majority of women and very few men. And then eventually all the men got voted off, which is just what just kills me. Just like, you idiots, this was always going to be the plan. It's always
What's the
plan.
objective of the whole show?
To win a lot of pot of money at the end of it, to be the sole
So you
survivor.
have to be sneaky, and you have to be.
You can't be too sneaky because the people you vote off are going to vote ultimately between the final two.
Okay.
So if you're too sneaky, if you offend too many people, you will lose. So I am not surprised that given that format, guess what? That in a small survey that the AI did, although it turned out that in the larger, when you step back and look at the larger picture, but in that smaller survey, actually 4 out of 5 wins were women. Because it plays into this get along kind of thing. Do you see? Get along, but get along in such a way that you get what you want.
Right. Do you remember Dante's Inferno?
That I remember because I never actually read the damn thing from end to end. Did you?
Well, no, but I do know about. You remember the Purgatory?
Yes.
Do you remember that, where there was the 2 rooms?
No.
And one room was people were all sad and depressed and what have you, and they couldn't understand because the table was full of food. And what they discovered was that everybody had these huge forks and knives tied to their hands, and they couldn't feed themselves. So everyone was miserable and upset. And then they went through another room, and it was completely different in terms of the scenario. The scene was exactly the same, but everyone was happy. They were eating. They were like, I was like, what's going on?
They're feeding each other, were they?
Yeah, they were feeding each other. So they worked it out that they have to work in harmony with others, because some people have different strengths and weaknesses, and together collectively you move your society forward. So there's no pain in having a collaborative approach, because you're getting different people's views, but eventually someone has to be the leader and make the final decision. That's leadership. So if you've just got women in place, why are you saying that there's no one of these women would stand up and actually lead? Because I find that hard to believe.
Because raising your head in a female collective is dangerous to you. You could be then seen to be a bully. You have to. I mean, it's a fantastic problem that they have, which is why I suppose their brains are like that. Because the fantastic problem is you have to bully without being seen to bully. You have to lead without being seen to lead. So it's all about, very light touches and things like that, and maybe even diplomacy and so on and so forth. But the end result is this alternative way of leadership that is not effective in the long term and is not crisis driven because it does depend too much on consensus. It's overly dependent on consensus. And you and I have spoken before about engineered consensus, I believe. And I believe this is what we see in West. And when I say Western society, I now mean Western influence society, because it's happening from Japan to South Korea to across the globe basically, and it's the influence of this insidious ideology. Whereas I'm looking for something else. I'm looking for a confrontation with uncomfortable truths, as I see it, with uncomfortable truths, and we have to work with facts. We can't have society being like this. But have I proved my point? I would say I haven't actually. No. I would say that I'm right, but as I found out with the AI that I was arguing,
how are you right?
Because it's there in front of us. But every time that I say something, people are able to go, yeah, but you see, whilst there are still yeah buts, there's not much we can do about it. This is why the MGTOW, the MGTOW movement exists. First, we tried talking about it. Then we found that there are too many counter excuses that we couldn't actually defeat logically. So we said, okay, this is what we'll do. We will step back and society will crumble. And then when you finish crumbling, we'll be there. Or at least our descendants will be there. That's what we're doing. That's we're stepping back. It's like there's sometimes you can be right, but you can't win the argument. And this is our situation now. I am right. We talk about risk and innovation, higher male variance in risk taking. We all know that, yeah?
Yep,
and
right.
Exploration, innovation, boundary pushing, all masculine traits. And then you're trying to say
that's not stopping, is it?
What is not stopping?
That's still not stopping, because you've said, you're countering. You're saying that if women are in the majority and are running the nation, somehow that stops men who have a natural
stopping.
tendency.
Where did we get this horrible idea of health and safety from, where you can't even do anything nowadays, where children can't even go out to the blooming playground and run? They're told to don't run, stop running. It's like, what the heck, man?
I know,
let them run.
That's health and safety, but that's not...
Yeah, but it came from somewhere. Don't you understand?
It came from somewhere.
It came from the feminization of our society. That's why it's
too simple. It's just too simple.
See what I mean by I can't win an argument? See what I mean? I can't win an argument. Now it's a simple label. It's not that it's not. You're not saying that I'm wrong. You're saying, oh, you just labeled it wrong. The feminization.
I'm agreeing with you in terms of
what the hell kind of agreement is that? Please don't agree with me. You told me.
I'm agreeing with you. Health and safety's gone mad, but that's more to do with job justification. Because
where did it come from? It came from feminization. It came from the women. Mommy doesn't want you to go out and play.
Because if you've got people dying on a work site, if people are falling off a ladder in a work site, you don't want that to happen, because guess what? The family would sue. Say, you made my husband climb up that ladder. He's died. I'm suing you. So naturally, if you're
and then in a masculine oriented society, the judge will say, did anybody hold a gun to your husband's head? Was there a culture in that company that fostered that mentality? Because that would be the company's fault, saying, hey, if you're a real man, you don't need safety gear. Climb up. That would be problematic. But if the supervisor said, dude, where's your safety gear? And the guy said, get out of it. I'm a man. I can handle it. And then he fell. That's on him.
No, but it's not on him.
See?
You know why? Because the wife would say, he never said that. I'm suing.
The wife wasn't there.
There's
facts and evidence.
No, but there's no facts and evidence.
No, it does matter to a man.
If a man is in charge of a company and there's a chance that some of his staff, male or female, could get injured and then sue him, he's going to make the decision, let's not get sued. I can't afford to be sued, so I'm going to put these health and safety practices in place, despite the fact I dislike them.
Agreed.
to ensure that I don't get sued. It's the
Agreed.
litigation
But
culture.
where you're going wrong is that culture of litigation culture exists because of the feminization of society. I'm saying that's the reason that in a male masculine society, the possibility of litigation is up to you to go to court, but you're going to meet common sense and logic, where the person on the bench, a man, is going to look at you and tell you, sorry, man, the guy, it was his choice.
That's a
Went up
terrible viewpoint. I'm sorry.
What do you mean
That's
it's a
got
terrible
nothing to do
viewpoint?
about male or female. That's a pig-headed viewpoint. You can't say
It's my point of
Okay,
view.
your
that
point
the
of view,
person has
but
to
it's-
take responsibility for their actions.
Oh,
Now,
absolutely. But if
if the
if
company-
my boss is telling me, "Oh, Tone, you need to climb that ladder,"
I just said so. That if the boss says it, then it's the company's fault. I literally said that. But the difference you're saying is that even if it is not what the boss said, it is still the company's fault. And I said it's only female thinking that can think that. That if the man has taken the choice, the man made the choice to go up the ladder on his own without, and maybe even against advice, it's all on him.
Oh, I get that. Personal responsibility, absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, but
But when a
nowadays, if you go
company
to
is
court today,
involved, but when a company is involved and you get lawyers involved who want to make money, you've got to stack the deck in your favor. As much as you dislike it and as much as you would want the man to get on with the job, because guess what? Time's money, folks. If I mess about with him having to wear all this extra safety gear, harness, all the rest of it, it's taking so much longer to do a job that would take 10 minutes. So if he wants to go up there, go up there. But if you fall, I cannot protect you. So it's using common sense. But unfortunately, when you're talking about companies, they cannot afford that risk because of litigation, because of bad press,
and
because
all of
so
those
many
things,
reasons.
bad press, litigation, yada yada, all because it's a female-led society.
Why
You're
is
not
that?
saying anything.
Why
because
is that?
because mommy doesn't want you to hurt yourself, and mommy says, "Hey, we know better than you what is good for you. You must have all these laws in place. It must be proactive." It has to be a proactive system where we actually have health and system. That's what health and safety. That's what I'm saying. It was implemented because it's a female-led society. Masculine societies, you're not going to have that. You're going to have to. I'm not saying you should go bounding up the fifth floor, 10th floor, whatever it is, without any safety gear. But some people would, and some men, complete their what you call it. 20 years, 25 years in the business, and they're perfectly fine. Some bozos show up on day one and kill themselves. It's a Darwinian selection,
Okay.
if you like.
We're
I
going to
don't
have to
believe
wrap
in
up here.
Darwinian.
So quick summary, because we've got to the end of the show. Does masculine culture protect society from chaos? We never really answered that question.
It does, but it's unfalsifiable and unprovable right now. Unfortunately, I might return to this topic.
We may have to at another time.
When I've got some evidence, really.
That would help. That would help.
Nice. Yeah.
I'm of the opinion I'm not convinced. Whilst I do say there's certain roles for both sexes in a society, and that's healthy if that is the case. Yes, you want to give opportunity the same, but by nature, or by the fact that people are drawn to certain jobs, I don't know, they should be allowed to do it. You shouldn't be setting artificial targets. If by and large people want to join the military and it tends to be 95% men, let them do it. Don't sort of make a play, we must equalize it and have 50% women because it should be. No, just let them do whatever it wants. Forget these targets. I think they're nonsense. They really are. Just let people gravitate, give everyone the right opportunity, get everyone to pass the right tests to do whatever they want to do. But this idea of just women causing chaos, I'm still not convinced. Anyway.
You know something?
Go on.
Very quickly.
Okay.
I just want to end it with a sort of sub-tire question time. Just to end with, very quickly. How come when I sum up it's really short?
Because I'm asking you to sum up short, because otherwise you could go off on one as well. But anyway, if you've loved this episode, hit subscribe and stay tuned for more deep dives into prophecies, mysteries, and the unexplained twists of fate. You've listened to Tony and Tayo, and we are the TNT Talk Show. But unfortunately, we have reached the end of the show for another week.